Off with Vicario. 4s all round for Vic. Look, just shocking. 2 goals. He had his hand in. First one, terrible pass to Archie Gray, bobbling all over the place to his weaker foot. Second one, I thought his positioning was all wrong. And look, it was a slice of luck at the end of the day with a cross that just floated into the far corner. But the only thing that saves him getting a 4 is that he did make a few really nice saves throughout the game to keep it respectable at the time of the game. But look, we end up losing 3-0. He gets put down for 2 of them. And yeah, I feel like there's a growing sentiment within the Spurs fan base, particularly the away end, growing frustrations with him. And I felt like during that game there was a lack of trust from the players to give him the ball at times. I really did towards the last half an hour of the game.
Yeah, obviously I think he takes blame for the first goal, shocking. I'll give him a bit of credit because he did make some saves. And I also think what he doesn't get enough credit for was I thought from set pieces he was actually quite good. He made some really good punches when he was under a lot of pressure. So I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, I mean, his ball playing has been costing us a lot recently. I do think he could have done better with the second goal as well. There's a lot of people just running out of patience with Vicario. There's a lot of mistakes in recent weeks, and after it looked like he turned the corner as well with some top performances, recent weeks has been back to his worst. And a lot of people are saying, is he ever going to be the right keeper for us? And there's big question marks there, you have to say. Yeah, absolutely. And with Vicario now, you're looking at his general season because we came out in defence of Vicario a few weeks ago. I don't think there's much defending the season that he's having now. I know he had a little period of 2-3 games where he looked phenomenal. But apart from that, he's had a really bad season, hasn't he? Well, a keeper has to be a steady pair of hands, and it has to be someone who invokes calmness in the backline, and he just unfortunately doesn't do that. He's always amped up. He's always so full of passion and just always wanting to do something. And I think at the moment it's costing us a lot. And he's costing us in way too many games. Way too many games. Would you go and change a keeper for Kinski? Because Kinski didn't even look ready when he's played. I'll consider it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit too soon. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know any more about anything. Yeah. You know what? I'll try up with Kinski and just give him a go. How much worse can it get? Yeah. But I guess Kinski probably doesn't make the saves at least that Vicario makes. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. But anyway, let's move on to Pedro Porro. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 2. I think Pedro Porro was absolutely shambolic yesterday. I thought, they had the beating of him on a consistent level yesterday, time and time again. I thought he did nothing in terms of his ability on the ball. I just felt like it was an absolute disaster class from Pedro Porro yesterday, and I've been praising him over the last couple of games after I've been criticising him a lot. I think all in all, look, he's got some stats behind him to suggest that he's one of the better fullbacks in the league this season, but judging on the eye test, I think he's having a shocking season, to be honest, and yesterday was probably the worst of the lot. Yeah, another shocking display from Porro, to be honest. Can't really say too much. He's just off it from the first minute. I think Hudson-Odoi was giving him a tough time throughout the whole game. His passing was off it. His crossing was off it. Just a really poor game. And yeah, and he had I didn't like as well after the game him coming out saying, "Oh, Archie made a mistake and that's put us behind." I'm like, well, you had a shocker. You don't have to be calling players out. It's mad, isn't it? You've got one of the fully fledged internationals in Pedro Porro, starts for Spain. He should be a leader to someone like Archie Gray, and he's coming out in an interview instead of protecting him, pretty much throwing him under the bus. It's madness. It's absolute madness. No accountability for his own personal display. I get he came out and apologised for the performance, but it's not enough. Show that performance on the pitch. Be a leader on the pitch. He did nothing but that. Yeah. Cristian Romero, 5s all round for Kuti. I felt like he was pretty much the only one in the back line that kind of kept up those defensive levels. He was stepping out and he was defending quite decently at times, and he was trying to play out the back, and he showed a good level at that. But
I felt like he just couldn't do it on his own, to be honest. And I think, he was the only one in that back line that comes out with a bit of credit, I thought.
Yeah, he was all right. I mean, not great. I mean, he's a very low bar, but probably one of our better players on the day. But I thought Igor Jesus was holding the ball up way too easily. You don't expect him to have such a easy time up against Romero and Van de Ven, but he wasn't. We weren't winning the ball off anywhere near him. But yeah, I don't really blame him for any of the goals or anything. I think it was okay, but yeah, it was a very low bar.
Micky Van de Ven, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 3. Yeah, I thought it was a shocker from Micky. I think it was his worst display of the season, to be honest. What really frustrated me with Micky is his passing and his playing out the back. I thought it was absolutely shocking. More times than not, just playing it back to Forest, putting us under pressure. Really, really frustrating. And I'm noticing something with Micky Van de Ven this season, which I've never noticed with him before, of how frustrated he's getting being in this team, to be honest, with the lack of quality around him. Look, don't get me wrong, his quality on the day was really poor, but it feels like to me he's just getting really disgruntled being at Tottenham.
Yeah, and he there's a shot of him. He gets like a note from from Frank, whatever, in the piece of paper. He just doesn't seem happy with what he's reading, and I don't know how much you can read into that. He seemed to be a bit frustrated with the note he got, but yeah, I thought his passing was just always under hit. He's playing it. I thought his passing actually in recent weeks being a bit better, but in this game he's just under hitting his passes constantly. Another player as well who was having a tough time against Igor Jesus. I thought Omari Hutchinson was getting too much joy cutting inside as well. Wasn't really helping out Spence that much. It's just a poor game, uncharacteristically poor from Van de Ven.
Jed Spence, Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I think, defensively he was poor. I thought Omari Hutchinson, having a bit of a field day down his side, and which is not what you expect to see from Spence. As we always say, he's the best one-on-one defender at the club, but I didn't think he really showed that too much yesterday. I thought, on a good note, he was trying to drive the team forward at times, albeit a lot on his own, and just trying to take it past men and try and start some sort of attack, but no teamwork whatsoever. And I thought he was pretty poor.
Yeah, I think he was one of the only ones getting on the ball a bit in their half and making the runs, but yeah, it wasn't a good day for him. I thought in the first half, Hutchinson was giving him the toughest time. In fact, most of their good work was coming down his side, which is, again, you don't expect that from Spence because he's such a good one-on-one defender, but he struggled to deal with Savona and Hutchinson down that side. They were getting crosses in, creating chances. I thought he cleared up a bit in the second half, and then he got taken off. And I thought he was the only one, maybe, if we were going to get forward and create some width, he was kind of the only one who kind of looked like he could do it. And then he got taken off and he looked very frustrated. So I'm not saying he had a good game, but again, I thought he was probably one of our better players on the day.
Yeah, that just shows how shit we were yesterday. Rodrigo Bentancur, 3s all round for Lolo. And this is just him in a nutshell this season, isn't it? Like, one good performance, one terrible performance. One good performance, one terrible performance. One of the most inconsistent players that we have at this football club at this moment in time. And he could not make a 5-yard pass yesterday. Every time he was asked to make a 5-yard pass, it was either overhit, went straight to Nottingham Forest player. It's just so frustrating when you're trying to build moves from the middle of the park and it just breaks down every time Bentancur gets on the ball. And don't get me, and off the ball as well. I thought, he was chasing shadows pretty much all game and he had no positive impact in the game. I thought he was shocking.
Yeah, terrible. I thought he was just all over the place. I thought Anderson, Gibbs-White running rings around him. His passing was terrible. Defensively, he seemed anonymous. He got absolutely done as well for the second goal by Hudson-Odoi. Couldn't keep up with Hudson-Odoi. I know Hudson-Odoi got some luck, but just had him on toast. And as you say, it's just one shit game, one good game, one shit game. He just can't get any sort of level of consistency this season, Bentancur.
Archie Gray up next. Him gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Look, he makes the mistake for the first goal. It wasn't the greatest pass to him, but I think he still should have been doing better in that moment in time. He's got more than enough quality to get it on his wrong foot and spray a pass, and he takes the touch with no awareness behind him. And the Forest player gets the ball and puts the ball in the back of the net. So that was really poor from Archie. I thought for the most part he was chasing shadows in the middle of the park against a really energetic Nottingham Forest side. But he actually has our only chance of the game, doesn't he? At least he drives and tries to make something happen. But just a poor display from Archie.
Yeah, it wasn't his day. I actually liked his reaction after the mistake. Obviously, it was a mistake from him. He shouldn't have got caught out by Sangare when he did. When he called for the ball as well, and he should have laid it off first time to Romero, albeit it was a bad pass from Vicario. But I liked his reaction. He wanted to take responsibility. He was getting forward. He had a shot. I think he did get booked, but at least he's picking a challenge and he's trying to take some responsibility. Well, unfortunately, it just wasn't his day. He just wasn't good on the day, to be honest, unfortunately, and he did get taken off. But I like the fact that he didn't hide after the mistake and he still looked to get involved in the game, which a lot of players, young players as well, don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaffy Simmons, 4s all round for Jaffy. Look, after a few decent performances, 2 man the matches in a row, a bit of a step backwards for him, but I did feel for him at times because I felt like with Javi, he was actually getting himself in some good positions, but there was just nothing around him. Pretty much similar to what before he got dropped for those 4 games. We were saying very similar things about Javi, where he's actually doing quite good work, but there's just nothing around him, like no one within 30 yards of him. So what's he actually supposed to do? Don't get me wrong, the quality at times was bad on the day, but I did feel for him at times because there was just no runners off him, no nothing. So I felt for him.
I thought actually one positive thing of Javi, I thought defensively off the ball he did some really good work. I thought he was getting involved in a lot of battles and making some really good tackles, and there was actually some impressive stuff off the ball, but on the ball, unfortunately, his quality just wasn't there. His passing was poor. I think he gave the ball away so many times. He was just so wasteful. He struggled to really get any sort of quality in terms of his passing game going. I agree with you, though. There's a lot of it was a lack of options and a lack of just runners and lack of space, and it was very difficult for him. But unfortunately, the quality was lacking there on the ball from Xavi yesterday.
Mohammed Kudus, Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 3. Again, we've reverted back to that basically schoolboy tactic of giving the ball to Kudus and seeing what he can do with it. Like literally, when you're playing football in the playground when you're at school, that is what the tactic is. Give the ball to your best player on the team and he'll just take it past everyone and score. And that's basically what our tactic has been for a lot of games this season. And he was just so frustrating, Kudus, yesterday. He didn't even try and link up play, I felt like he just got the ball, no matter how many men he had around him, just try and barge his way through the Forest defence. And look, the Forest players weren't having it. And he lost the ball so many times. And it was just so frustrating to watch, man.
Yeah, I mean, every time he got the ball, he had like 3 or 4 players around him. So just if that's going to be the situation, you know that from very early on. It was clear tactic from Forest. Make sure you release the ball quickly. There's going to be players in space. There's going to be other spaces to exploit, and he just had no interest in doing it. He'd rather run down a blind alley and lose the ball. When he did get the opportunity to cross, not necessarily totally his fault, but his crossing was going nowhere. Obviously, Milenkovic and Murillo gobbled everything up, but his crossing, there was nothing there. His corners didn't do anything. And it went from a great game against 2 good games against Slavia and Brentford, and this game he was just completely nullified.
Yeah. Randal Kolo Muani, 5s all round for him. I thought, he was the one. If we were going to do anything, it looked like it was going to come through him. He actually had the quality to take on his man, but look, at the end of it, didn't really show much quality. But I just didn't understand why they took him off. Why Frank took him off. I felt it was a baffling decision when he was the one looking like he was getting into the good areas, and if something was potentially going to happen, it probably wouldn't have happened, but it was going to come through him. So I like his energy on the pitch. I like his desire and work rate. But yeah, still not great.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they took him off. He was the only one who had a little bit of quality with his dribbling, taking people on. He was the only one who looked a bit bright. There was one moment, I think it was in the first half, he took past 3 players, burst into the space, and he just didn't release the ball. He had options. He had Javi, he had Kudus, and he just didn't release the ball and ends up giving it away. I think he wanted to go for goal himself because, I don't know, maybe he didn't trust passing it. But he was the only one who looked a bit bright. He was probably the brightest spark on the day, but even that is slim pickings. But I didn't understand why he took him off. He was the only one who could hang on to the ball and actually look like maybe something could happen with him.
Richarlison up next. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 2. It looked like he had he had like bouncy car. He was like wearing a bouncy castle or something, because every time the ball came to him, the ball just bounced off him. His control was completely off on the day. Made no sort of impact, no sort of presence up top, and didn't impact the game. The only way he impacted the game was in a negative way, because he just could not keep the ball. He could not make it stick. He could not bring others into play. I don't know what he did on the pitch yesterday. You know what? He lasted 90 minutes.
Yeah,
how's he lasted 90 minutes and Muani gets taken off? Like, can you make sense of that? I can't make sense of it.
I couldn't believe that, to be honest. And he was shocking yesterday. Everything was just. He couldn't control anything. He couldn't control anything yesterday. Couldn't probably control a bag of flour, probably let alone a football. It was crazy. It was just baffling how bad he was, and it was baffling how Frank didn't take him off. To be fair, again, he suffered from issues he has suffered from a lot of this season, which is lack of any players around him and being isolated. But you have to say, when he did get the opportunity to show a bit of quality, it was just not there at all. Nothing. So I was shocked that he stayed off on the pitch.
Yeah. Lucas Bergvall, first of our subs. Sim gives him a 5, I gave him a 4. Probably the only sub I actually agreed with on the day. Look, I don't think he showed too much quality. I mean, he was snapping into challenges, he got booked, and he was trying to drive the team forward, but yeah, he couldn't do it on his own.
Yeah, and he didn't really, unfortunately, he was getting exploited a bit, didn't really close gaps in the middle, didn't close Sangari down for the goal. And I don't remember too much of him getting on the ball either. He just came on and ran around a bit.
Yeah, pretty much. João Palhinha, 5 from Sim, 4 from me. Look, he put himself about a little bit, going in a few challenges, as we know he's going to do. But look, at the end of the day, he was probably brought in to shore up the midfield a little bit, and he didn't do that.
I actually thought he was quite combative when he came on, and I think he did help a bit individually. He did win a few tackles, but did help us because he can't win ball forward.
Yeah, I still thought like the midfield was still wide open when he came on, even if he did put in a few challenges. Ben Davies came on. Sim, we both give him a 5. I mean, look, I felt like he shored up the left-hand side a little bit, albeit not much. But yeah, there was nothing really to talk about.
Didn't cross the halfway line. Don't understand why he was brought on. Makes no sense to me. Why, when you're 2-0 down, you bring on Ben Davies? That's the last player you want when you're 2-0 down. Literally the last player. So it just makes sense.
Thomas Frank, Sim gives him a 1. I gave him a 2. I'm not sure what he gets the 2 for, to be honest. But just turning up on the day, you probably just get a 2 for.
Scarves? Was he involved in the scarves?
Yeah, if he's I'll give him that. He gave 3,000 scarves to the away end yesterday, but. Look, it was just a shit show throughout. Look, I can understand the going for the same team that we beat Brentford with, because it was, we did well that day and we looked like that we could have a bit of attacking intent. We looked like the better team. We looked like we could have scored a lot more goals than 2 on the day. He's gone for the same team. I've got no problem with that. Albeit, I thought he should have started with Tell on the left, and we said that in the predicted lineup, but I didn't have too many problems when the team lineup was announced. What I did have a problem with is the application and the desire and everything on the pitch. Didn't seem to have any sort of motivational, like, he can't seem to motivate these players on a regular basis. That's the reality. At half time, when you're 1-0 down and you put in that sort of performance, you expect Frank get them in at half time, give them a shouting to, make a few changes, and Spurs to come out firing that second half, try and prove the doubters wrong. There was none of that. No changes at half time. We actually looked worse coming out the second half than we probably did in the first half. So, and the changes on the day as well. The game management was so poor from Thomas Frank. You're 2-0 down, looking for a bit of inspiration. And the inspiration he has is bringing on Ben Davies and João Palhinha. Like, it's just ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So I thought this was a complete shit show from Thomas Frank. And, the question marks just get more and more and more as each game progresses.
I mean, you can just go through every element of what a manager should be doing and judge him on that. There's no attacking pattern, no plan to go forward. Defence looked absolutely open and gifting chances and making mistakes. The players look unmotivated. The team lack massive amounts of intensity. The substitutions were absolutely awful, and the game management was absolutely awful. The players are looking frustrated with him, and they don't seem to be happy with him. A few of them, like. There's not one part of, what a manager should be that I can give him any sort of positive on this occasion. You're playing as a weaker team with an inferior team where you should have the better players and you should be on the front foot, and you're getting dominated. They're laying you with 20 minutes to go and taking the piss out of you. So I don't see... I mean, he's probably lucky to get a 1, to be honest.
You know, Forest fans started singing "You're Getting Sacked in the Morning," and I did hear some Spurs fans. It wasn't big from the Spurs fans, but some Spurs fans were definitely singing along as well.
I don't like that, but
you know when that starts happening.
Not good.
Yeah. So that is our player ratings for the 3-0 loss at the City Ground yesterday. Forest 3, Tottenham 0. As we're going to move in to reacts